Hi, I am Kate Drummond, and I wanted to just open this up and talk to you guys a little bit about my whole experience of being a sensitive child, working with sensitive children, and how the whole idea for this Star Child membership platform came to be. So I was a sensory sensitive child. And there were very little resources or knowledge about this in the 70s and 80s when I was growing up. I had a strong tendency to melt down. I had a number of sensory sensitivities to clothing textures, to any kind of disturbance or wrinkle in my socks when I was little. Food textures bothered me some. And then I was also very connected as a child along with all of these sensory sensitivities that I had. I also had a high level of imagination. I had imaginary friends. I could sense and see and perceive things that were not, typical or not in this world. Growing up like that I was oftentimes scared of the dark. I used to have to get comforted a lot. I could see things moving in our very old home that I grew up in. I saw things in different parts of the house. And some of the imaginary friends that were around me were fun and light and playful, and others weren't. So I was navigating all of this without anybody really being able to understand what I was going through, and me not being able to really talk about what was happening to me at such a young age. Or if I did, it was just sort of explained away or put down, like, oh, there's nothing that can hurt you, there's nothing going on like that, sort of explained away. So as I got older, I decided that this so-called gift felt more like a burden, and I just didn't want it anymore. It was disturbing my studies in college, so I shut it off. Just intentionally. I stopped paying attention to anything like that, and it was turned off. Fast forward, I finished all my degrees in occupational therapy. I went on to become a pediatric occupational therapist, and shortly after that was married. And when I had my children in 2005, between the time of 2005 and 2008, becoming a mother, I just had a complete spiritual reawakening, and I was remembering all these gifts that I had had as a sensitive child. I began to question and think back about my own childhood, and I started to put the pieces together and thought, wow, what if some of these sensory sensitive children that I've been working with now for about 10 years at this time, what if some of them were like me? What if they were sensitive beyond the sensory realm? What if they were tapped in? What if they could perceive things in the other realms, in the liminal spaces? What if they're highly empathic and they're just feeling their emotions of their family, feeling the emotions of the other children in the classrooms? So when I began to wonder this, I got curious, and I decided to begin to get some outside training outside of my field for the purpose of supporting the children more. And so I did this, and I kept accumulating trainings and helping the children. And wouldn't you know, these children just responded so beautifully to this extra layer of support that I was providing them within OT, simply by opening the possibility of this in my mind. The children kind of seemed to respond very immediately to my opening and my curiosity that was not even spoken aloud. I was not talking to families about this at this time. I was just wondering and curious. And when I'd be curious and wondering, the children would say the most astonishing things to me that I could never have imagined. And I've collected so many anecdotal stories since then about these children that include things like the ability to see spirits, the ability to see energy and to perceive energy, the ability to connect with and perceive extra-dimensional beings, and even children in early life, and then even that go a little bit beyond that, have full memory of past lives or being on the other side. So as I opened myself up to support these children, they just would begin to come to me, so curious, and just say these things to me that they had never said before in the 10 years prior. All of a sudden they started opening up when I became open, almost like they could sense it. So as I was doing my training to support them in a non-invasive way, just by creating different energetic structures that are very supportive and loving, the best way that I knew to handle this is just to get curious. So whenever they would say things to me like this, I would just get curious and ask them, wow, what did that feel like? How does that feel to you? What is that like in your body? Just like I would if they said anything else to me. And oftentimes they would be able to describe it or tell me if they were scared or if they liked it or if they were enjoying it. And usually just by speaking it aloud and having somebody listen, an adult listen to them, that was enough for them. And then they would just kind of carry on and do their play and all the things. And there was never any pressing. I never press a child to give me more information or try to direct it or warp it in any way. I just let them say what they want to say. I validate their feelings. And if they are scared in any way or insecure, I'll give them very simple tools that they can do and use to feel better. And many of these tools are what I am going to be sharing with you on this platform. So I'm so excited to be launching this, and I hope that you will find it a valuable resource, and I really hope that you'll be joining me.